Rabbi, we have a few more minutes, and you are a rabbi in addition to a gun expert. And as you know, we're in the Omer period right now. If visible, you could see my beard of about 22 days that I've on right now. No, it's more than that. I guess it's 23 now. 24, yeah, but I'm counting the first day of Passover, too. And this is very relevant to Jewish self-defense in particular, and I'm talking about Bar Kochba and the revolt, and also the holiday of Lag BaOmer, where one symbol are bows and arrows. Could you talk a little bit about that and how this ties, the whole holiday period talks into Jewish self-defense?
Indeed, it all ties together, doesn't it? Well, Bar Kochba led a rebellion against Roman oppression. His rebellion took place in, I believe it started in the year 132 of the Common Era, if I'm not mistaken. He was endorsed by Rabbi Akiva, who was one of the leading rabbis of the time. Bar Kochba had an enormous army. They fought against the Roman legions, and for several years they were winners. They did a great job throwing off Roman oppression of the Jewish people. Now, during the Omer period, we are told it's a period of mourning because of the death of Rabbi Akiva's students. Rabbi Akiva had 12,000 pairs of students who died during this period. One of the suggestions about their deaths is that they were actually killed by the Romans. You can read all about this in Devin Spear's book, for example. He writes all about it in the future.
So it wasn't just a plague.
So one suggestion, the plague is very mysterious, right? If you read the Gemara on this, the Gemara talks about that they were killed by a plague called Azkara because they didn't behave the kavod, with dignity toward each other. It's not really clear what that means. It's a rather mysterious plague. And one of the suggested explanations is that, in fact, it wasn't a plague, that, in fact, this was part of Bar Kochba's army, that we had the rabbinic scholarship of the generation, the rabbinic scholars of the generation were part of the army fighting against the Romans, and the Romans brutally put down the uprising and killed all of Rabbi Akiva's students, both those who may have participated and those who did not, as part of that. Of course, the Roman censors certainly would not have tolerated writing that up in the notes in the study hall that turned into our Talmud eventually.
And in terms of specific lessons we can draw from this in terms of Jewish self-defense or self-defense in general, because I know we have a lot of Christian listeners and people who follow the show.
I think that we should shake off the idea that violence is always bad. Using violence as a tool to defend the innocent, using a handgun as a tool to defend the innocent is standing up for God's law and God's way. That's one of the many lessons of the Bar Kochba rebellion, is that Bar Kochba stood up in righteousness against Roman oppression. And righteous defense of the innocent is a religious mandate that we are required to uphold. God has given us a precious gift of life, and to not defend that life when it is attacked is, in fact, to hold the gift in contempt. So out of love for God, out of love for the life He gave me, I will defend the lives of the innocent, of myself, of my family, against any threat.
Even your community. In fact, that almost ties into George Zimmerman, who was not Jewish, but certainly was asked by community members to help defend his community after a plague of not necessarily murders, but theft and attacks on people's homes.